Hello fellow travelers who love to explore. Come to HT Travel Diary. Today, we enter the heart of Texas, a land of big dreams, of gleaming steel skyscrapers, of vast fields stretching to the horizon. But beneath the surface lies a painful truth, a deep wound that burns at the heart of this state. Homelessness in Texas is more than a problem. It is a human tragedy, a bitter indictment of a system that has abandoned thousands of people to the shadows of despair and oblivion. Imagine 27,229 people, mothers clutching their children in the bitter cold, veterans who gave their lives for their country, children with clear eyes but filled with fear of a homeless tomorrow. They have no home, no place to feel safe, no hope to cling to. These numbers are more than statistics, they are cries for help, heartbreaking stories, lives on the margins of society. But today, we are not here just to recount pain. We are here to awaken conscience, to stir compassion, and to act together, to prove that humanity still burns within each of us. If you sympathize with the homeless people here, please leave number 1 in the comments section to spread this story together, stir the hearts of the community, and demand a change that cannot be delayed. We will be the guiding light, the echoing voice for those who have been forced to silence. As of January 2024, Texas had 27,229 homeless people. Pause for a moment to feel the weight of that number. That's the population of a small town, but not one of them has a roof over their heads, a bed to sleep in, or a corner to call home. Texas, with its booming economy, vibrant cities, and stellar global reputation, ranks among the worst states in America for dealing with homelessness. What's even more alarming, that number has increased by 12% in just 1 year, a painful setback, a clear sign that our system is falling apart at its core. Picture a mother in Houston, sitting in her beat-up car, quietly wiping away tears so her children can't see, while they cram into the back seat of an empty supermarket to sleep. Think of a veteran in Austin who once bore the weight of our nation's pride on his shoulders, now huddled under a sheet of cardboard, seeking warmth in the biting wind. Or a teenager in Dallas, carrying his school bag to school on an empty stomach, hiding his worries about where he'll sleep tonight. These aren't anonymous ghosts, they're real people, with broken dreams, unspoken pain, and stories that society has been taught to ignore. Texas, one of the richest states in the world, is letting them slip away. This crisis did not arise in a vacuum. It is the result of decades of poor choices, of a system that puts profit before people. The COVID-19 pandemic has acted as a trigger, exposing fatal flaws in the social safety net. Emergency housing vouchers have been a lifeline, keeping thousands of Texas families afloat. But they are only a temporary fix, a band-aid on an already bleeding wound. By the end of 2026, those vouchers will expire, and without a replacement, we will see a new wave of homelessness, bigger, more devastating, and uncontrollable. Texas is not completely immobile, however. Major cities like Houston, Austin, and Dallas are fighting the crisis, though the road ahead is rocky. In Houston, The Way Home is a flagship program, reducing homelessness by 60% since 2011, proving that a housing-first model can turn things around. But even here, 7,000 people still live in tents or crowded shelters, a reminder that even the boldest plans have their limits. In Austin, the tech boom has turned the city into a magnet for the wealthy, but it has also pushed housing prices to unaffordable levels. Thousands of workers have been pushed onto the streets, unable to keep up with the insane cost of living. Despite millions of dollars spent on support services, more than 2,500 people remain homeless, caught in the crossfire of political squabbles and local community opposition. Dallas is on track to see a 16% reduction in homelessness between 2022 and 2024, thanks to a determined $72 million investment. But with federal funding drying up, these gains are as fragile as sandcastles against a tidal wave. These efforts are laudable, but they are just drops in the thirst of a crisis too great. We have forgotten to see the homeless as people. They are not trash to be swept off the streets, they are neighbors, loved ones, human beings who deserve love and support. But in Texas, the system treats them like obstacles, like problems to be swept under the rug rather than solved. Medical care is a nightmare. For homeless people, seeing a doctor is not just difficult, it's impossible. They only go to the emergency room when their illnesses have become serious, creating huge costs, an average of $23,000 per person per year, that taxpayers ultimately foot. Chronic illnesses, injuries, infections, and mental health crises fester, never properly treated. What about mental health? Texas ranks near the bottom of the nation in funding for these services. Hospital beds are scarce, with waiting lists that stretch for months, even years. Addiction treatment programs are a luxury most homeless people never have. Those in need are left as if they were adrift at sea, promised rescue would come someday. And jobs. We often say, get a job, as if it were an easy answer. But imagine, no shower, no ID, no address to fill out a job application. Where do you start? Many forms still ask for a permanent address, something tens of thousands of Texans don't have. Job training programs are shrouded in red tape, or are only available to people who have achieved a level of stability that homeless people never have a chance to reach. Texas boasts a low unemployment rate, but that means nothing to the man who sleeps behind a dumpster and doesn't get called back from an interview because he doesn't have a clean set of clothes. It means nothing to the single mother who can't leave her tent for fear her few possessions will be stolen. Worse, when these people try to survive, they are punished. Texas, along with many other states, has criminalized the most basic human behaviors. Sitting on the sidewalk, sleeping under a porch, or asking for help can all result in a ticket or a night in jail. The 2024 Supreme Court decision in Grants Pass v. Johnson gave cities like Texas the power to fine and jail people for simply not having a home. Sleeping outdoors, a basic human need, is now considered a crime. This is not getting tough on crime, this is unjustifiable cruelty. Arresting someone for sleeping on the streets when they have nowhere else to go is not a solution, it is a way to push them deeper into despair. Once you have a criminal record, your chances of finding a job or a place to live are virtually gone. An arrest becomes an invisible chain, locking them into a cycle of homelessness. We pride ourselves on being tough, but the real crime is allowing these people to suffer in a wealthy state like Texas. When did survival become illegal? When did we decide that a ticket was cheaper than compassion? This is not just a failure of policy, it is a failure of humanity. To understand this crisis, we need to hear real stories from the people who are living it. Consider Maria, a single mother in Houston who worked double shifts to support her 3 children. When she lost her job to layoffs, she couldn't pay her rent. Within months, her family was living in a car, moving from parking lot to avoid detection. Maria wasn't lazy or irresponsible, she was a victim of a system that didn't give her a chance to get back on her feet. Or the story of James, a veteran in Austin who served overseas, but now struggles to survive each night on the streets. James suffers from PTSD, but he can't access mental health care because of a waiting list that's months long. He wants to work, wants to rebuild his life, but with no address, no clean clothes, and no one to trust, he's trapped in a vicious cycle. The fight against homelessness is not just the responsibility of leaders or organizations, it is our shared mission. Think about the power of unity. One small act, like giving a meal to a homeless person, talking to them to understand their story, or joining a local volunteer group, can create ripples of change. Organizations like the Texas Homeless Network, local shelters, and community groups are working tirelessly, but they need our support. Imagine what could happen if each of us contributed a little time, a little resources, a little compassion. Those ripples would become a tidal wave, washing away apathy and building a better future. Attend events like the Texas Homeless Network's 2025 conference, where activists, community leaders, and ordinary people come together to find solutions. Learn about local nonprofits, like Houston's Coalition for the Homeless or Austin's Ending Community Homelessness Coalition, and see how you can help. Maybe it's donating clothes or food, or simply spending an hour a week listening and supporting. Every small step is part of a larger revolution, a revolution of compassion, of solidarity, and of hope. One of the biggest barriers to fighting homelessness is our indifference. We have become accustomed to looking the other way, accustomed to treating the homeless as problems to be swept under the rug rather than as people in need of help. But indifference is not destiny, it is a choice. And we can choose differently. Let's start by changing the way we see the problem. Let's stop blaming the homeless for their plight, and instead look at the systemic injustices, like lack of affordable housing, lack of health care, and punitive policies that push them into poverty. Educate yourself and those around you. Learn about successful programs, like the Housing First model, and share these stories with your community. Host discussions at schools, churches, or community groups to raise awareness. Encourage local leaders to invest in long-term solutions rather than temporary fixes that mask the problem. And most importantly, listen. Listen to the homeless, listen to their stories, and let those stories remind us that they are no different from us. They just face challenges that any of us can face. So what can we do to end this crisis? The solution is not a mystery. First, Texas needs to build affordable housing, now and at scale. Incentivize developers to build affordable units, reform zoning laws to allow for denser construction, and protect existing affordable housing stock. Let's face it, when an affordable apartment in Austin costs $1,800 a month, while the minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, the dream of a roof over our heads becomes a nightmare. For every 100 low-income families, there are only 36 affordable units. This isn't just an economic problem, it's a moral problem. Second, invest heavily in support services. Mental health care, addiction treatment, and job training aren't things to put off, they're the foundation for rebuilding lives. Housing First models have proven incredibly effective, with retention rates as high as 90%. When you give a person a roof over their head, you give them the opportunity to heal, to get back on their feet, and to live. Third, end punitive policies. Banning camping doesn't solve anything, but safe campsites with support services can. Stop criminalizing survival and start building solutions to prevent it. Ultimately, it's up to us, the community, the people, the heart. Texans are known for their generosity, their indomitable spirit, and their belief that anything is possible. Put those qualities into action. Volunteer at a local shelter. Advocate for more humane policies. Share this video with friends, family, and anyone who will listen. The Texas Homeless Network's 2025 Summit is a place to start, but words are not enough. We need action, and we need it today. Homelessness in Texas is a bleeding wound, but it can be healed. 27,229 people are counting on us. The homeless are not invisible, they are just ignored. But we will not turn away. We see them. We hear them. And we will fight for them. Write to your representative, donate to a supporting organization, or just tell someone else your story. Every action is a building block for a better future. Let's create a Texas where no one has to sleep on the streets, where everyone has a home to call home, where compassion trumps indifference. The question isn't whether we can, it's whether we have the courage to do it. Let's be the force of change. And together, we will erase homelessness from the history of Texas, leaving behind a legacy of kindness and hope.